We might just start without Sandra. Sandra was going to come and introduce everybody, but anyway, I think she's got a bit sidetracked in there. So my name's Julie Murphy, and I teach in Swan Hill at Swan Hill South Kindergarten. This is my 24th year in the early childhood field, and I've worked in kinder, childcare, occasional childcare. I've trained students, so I've done a whole different sorts of things. And this year I'm actually doing some leadership training and also my validation, so we're trying to be a little bit more proactive within LMPA and helping out a bit more. So Alison's just going to introduce herself as well, and then we'll let Judy introduce herself.
I'm Alison Boyd-Law, and I've been in the preschool field for slightly longer than Julie. My first year of teaching was 1980, but with having children, I probably have taught probably 26, 27 years. Some of that full-time, some part-time in Melbourne, in the country, they're all over the place. But I've not been as varied as Julie. I've only just stuck to preschool, but I've taught 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds in extended hours with sessional, and I've seen a lot of changes in the profession. And Julie and I, like she just said, we're doing our leadership course together, and then we're going to do our validation. So we're hoping that part of this can count for our validation. That's why we put up our hand to volunteer, didn't we, Julie? And I teach at Wooreen South Preschool, which is a tiny little township about 10 minutes out of Swan Hill.
I'm going to say being nice there.
Yeah.
Good. Waiting for the water.
Tomorrow. It's coming to tomorrow now. Maybe.
It's always the next day, isn't it?
And Judy from the department.
I'm Judy Pell. I'm a kindergarten teacher too. I had about 20 years of teaching experience, and then sort of crossed over to the department. Been there
Crossed to the dark side.
Yeah, that's right. Been there 11 years, and so I have a passion for cluster management because I was teaching under the standalone system, and I recognise what LMPA is doing. It's great for professional development and development of staff generally. So I often look back at the way we used to operate and think how lucky you are to be under this system. And I also monitor and inspect kindergarten services, childcare centres, gymnasiums which may have a licence, any licensed service. Part of our role is provide advice as well. And part of our role is to conduct investigations. So we also have projects as well as the inspecting side. So mine other projects are cluster management, early start to kindergarten, universal access. So all the change that you're going through, we are as well in the department, but we it's our role to help implement it. So we like to work with you, and we encourage you to contact us if you have any queries at any time. We might be able to help you. If we don't know the answer, we'll find it, get back to you.
We just thought it might be valuable just to quickly go around the circle, if everyone can say their name and roughly, the area they're from or where they're doing their relief.
And with the teacher or assistant.
Yeah, just so we have a bit of an idea. Thank you for that. That's excellent. Now, of course, if you've all been working in the early childhood field, you'll see that in the last couple of years we've seen, and we're going to continue to see many changes as the government focuses more on the early childhood sector and providing the best start for 0 to 5-year-olds. And I think this is a really exciting time for early childhood staff because our industry is being more recognised as an important part of the child's life. So we should relish that and really fly with it. So as part of all the changes, I'll just briefly go over these now and we'll talk a bit more in detail about them.
That would be on the second page, I think.
Yeah. We've got the Victorian Early Years Learning Framework, which is the document there. Let me just hold it up. And the Early Years Learning Framework, which is Belonging, Being and Becoming.
So this one's
That's the Victorian government.
And this one's the
federal government. And we'll just give you a brief overview of those documents in just a moment. We've also got transition statements, which as teachers we have to write at the end of each year, and that goes to the primary school staff. And we're working towards our universal access, which is by the year 2013, 15 hours of kindergarten for each child, and the staff-child ratios and the qualifications of staff are all covered into that little bundle as well. And there's lots of professional development opportunities around at the moment for the early childhood field, so it's really good to grasp onto anything that you can find at the moment and really get into it, because they're encouraging people to go further with their training, and we really need to have more staff on board by the year 2013 and beyond. So it's a really important time now to think about what you're doing, and if you're quite happy to move on and do more training to actually do that. Otherwise we're not sure where all our staff will come from. So we need people to do that. Now we'll just have I'll just talk briefly about some of the documents. Firstly, we've got the department's practice notes, and over here on the table, Judy's kindly brought along every single practice note that's available at the moment. So at the end of the session, we'll pass them around so you can take a copy of those. But what we've put in your little folder is the index. So there's an index, and they're all accessible on the website as well. But you can actually take them today.
Some centres may have their practice notes in a folder like this.
So,
have a look at too.
Yeah. They're information sheets which are designed to assist services by setting out the department approach to the requirements of the regulations and the Act. So they just give you a bit of background about the regulation or the Act that relates to that particular practice note, and then some benefits and some guidance about how you might implement it. And as an example, I was just looking on the internet the other day and I looked up practice note 5 and 5A, which relate to natural environments. And the first practice note 5 talked about, the benefits of it and which part of the regulations it relates to. And then the 5A practice note had 21 pages of all different photographs of how you could actually implement the natural environment into your program. So they're really good to have a look at, and they're easy on you've got them all now to take away, so that'll be fine. Or else, on the internet they're really accessible as well. And we would really, obviously you can take them all today, but the behaviour guidance one and the supervision one, we would really recommend that you have a look at those two, because they're important in each centre. And also we have a fantastic copy of the LMPA policy book, which in your folder what you have is the index. So if you look in your little folder, there's an index, and they're all the different policies, because it was just too big to actually photocopy for everybody. But it's accessible on the LMPA website. And what's happened is, over the last 12 months, all of us at LMPA, all the staff and the office staff plus all the staff on the ground, we've all worked together to put the policies together and to collaborate, look at them, decide what's good, what's not good, what should be there, what shouldn't be there, how can we refine it. And, Belinda's got a copy now. That's what it looks like in the flesh. All the centres now under LMPA run by the policy book. So this is our policy manual for every single kinder now. So we would really highly recommend that you have a look at that on the internet. And as I said, you can actually download each of the policies to look at on the internet. Yes, and a few examples I've got here, just a couple of examples, because in my research for today I actually rang up a few relief teachers and talked to them about what did they feel was important to know. And one of the girls said to me they wanted to know about the dress code, so that comes under LMPA with the staff code of conduct. Sorry, my little girl did a drawing on here. So obviously I'll just briefly read out some of it. Staff are expected to wear clothing which enables them to safely and actively participate in the children's experiences and ensures that they can move quickly to assist children. And then it just runs through like singlet tops, short tight skirts and short shorts are not acceptable. So obviously we all know those sort of things, but just sort of goes over that there. And also we try to be in line with our SunSmart policies for all the kinders, so longer sleeves if you can, wearing hats, sunglasses, those sort of things also. And another one that I just wanted to quickly highlight.
What about shoes? Should we be wearing closed-in shoes?
Yes.
Sorry, it says here that thongs and slides are not recommended, but shoes should be practical and well-fitting. So it doesn't say that they have to be closed in, but just something that's sturdy.
That wouldn't be...
For your own safety, I guess
Yeah.
you're better off, aren't you, when you're moving, trestles and things.
No, we try to recommend that children don't wear
I
thongs.
think that's sort of a personal choice too, because this sounds a bit silly, but I hate the sand in my shoes. So I have to wear closed-in shoes so I can get in and out of the sand pit really easily. I hate the sand getting caught in sandals. So it's other people don't mind that, they feel cooler in sandals, and it's really a personal preference.
But yeah, I think sandals are fine as long as they're practical and appropriate for you and not high heels and that sort of thing. Another one of the policies, like there's many policies that we could go over there, but I'll just quickly briefly talk about nutrition. There was just a couple of points that come up to me anyway with talking to different staff members, and it's like we're trying to guide the children by asking them to bring healthy foods and that, but you know, sometimes they don't, at home they don't have a lot of those things, and if all they bring in their lunchbox are like chips or chocolate or whatever, we can't actually say that they can't eat that food. Like, you know, we have to actually let them eat what's in their lunchbox. We can't not let them eat that. So we just need to be aware of that. And then maybe it's more like educating the parents and giving them some more information about what's more appropriate to have in their lunchbox. And the other thing was that if the child doesn't present with food, we need to have some food on our premises now so that we can provide some of that to the children. So you might just need to ask where that's situated or get the other staff member to point you in the right direction or for them to do that for you. So that was just two quick little things there, and I'll talk about, I was going to talk about supervision, but I'll talk about that in more detail in a moment if that's all right. Okay, so I'll go back to here for a minute. So yeah, and also on all the LMPA policy documents, which is excellent, down the bottom they've put, you won't probably be able to see this here, but I'll just talk to you about it. It's got the related documents. So each policy, it's got the related documents that it relates to in regards to that Victorian Early Years Framework and the Early Years Framework and the regulations and the Act. It talks about what that relates to for each policy. And I think that's a really good idea. Then you know where everything's coming from. And there's also, it's not out at the moment, but in the next few years we're going to be doing a national quality standard for early childhood education and care. If any of you have worked in childcare, you would know a little bit about the quality standards that relate to childcare. And I'll just read out this brief little bit about the NQS, as it's called. It outlines 7 areas that have been identified by research as critical to the provision of quality early childhood education and care. So from the 1st of January 2012, all long day care, family day care, out of school hours care and preschools will be assessed and rated against the NQS. And the 7 quality areas are the educational program and practice, the children's health and safety, physical environment, staffing arrangements including staff to child ratios and qualifications, the relationships with children, collaborative partnerships with families and communities, and leadership and service management. And it also, you relate your evidence back to the Victorian framework and the department framework, the national framework, sorry. And everything sort of underpins and sort of joins together. Yeah. So LMPA, with all their policies, have related them back to the standards as well. So you'll see that, you know, assessor comes into your service and has a look around and makes sure that you're meeting all the standards. And if you've got all the policies, they can see straight away that relates to this national standard. You get a little tick, blah, blah, blah.
And that was in consultation with the staff as well, which is also part of the national quality standards. And
do you know any more about that, Judy?
I think they're piloting it. They have had pilots for the national quality framework, and I think it's supposed to be implemented from, say, June or July of this year onwards. But we, like you, will have to have the appropriate training to implement it. So we're not really sure of our role. Our role is already quite big, but then to take on the quality as well, I think it will be different. Yeah.
And I think that's a watch this space.
I think so, and I think really when usually we go out and do an inspection, it might take 2 hours, 2.5. Apparently it's going to take us a lot longer. So when you see us, you know, it'll be probably for a day or more. But yeah,
if it's similar to accreditation, it was like weeks of work, as in yourself, and then usually 3 days with the accreditor at the centre.
Yeah. It's a big